Hey guys, in this video I just wanted to go through a practice problem where I solve for the market equilibrium price and quantity and then just check our welfare. So the question asks us, in the market for apples, market demand is described by the inverse demand equation. P, that's the price, is equal to 120 minus QD, that's quantity demanded divided by 3. And market supply is described by the inverse supply equation. P is equal to QS, that's quantity supplied, plus 10. We're asked to find the equilibrium price and quantity traded in the market, find consumer surplus, producer surplus, and total surplus. So I wanted to give you guys an example where I was solving for market equilibrium when we had our inverse demand equation. So like price is on the left-hand side here for both demand and supply. So how to deal with that. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is just draw out my demand and supply curves. We're going to have two axes as per usual. Always price is on the vertical axis, and we have our quantity variables on the horizontal. So I can put Q, and you can put QD, QS as well if you want. We're tracking all the quantity variables on the horizontal. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is draw our demand equation, and it's pretty easy to draw a demand equation. It comes through like this. So all we're going to do is find the price axis intercept and the quantity axis intercept, and then we can join those 2 points together. In order to find the price axis intercept, I set quantity demanded equal to 0. And so I get P is equal to 120 minus 0 on 3, which is just equal to 120. I can then find my quantity axis intercept by setting price, P equal to 0, and then solving for Q subscript D. So I get 0 is equal to 120 minus QD over 3. I can then add QD on 3 to both sides. That will get rid of that term from this side of the equation and introduce it to this side. So I get QD over 3 is equal to 120. I can then multiply both sides by 3 and I get QD is equal to, 120 times 3 is 360. So I'll mark that in my diagram as well. And now I've got these 2 points. All I need to do is put a line between them, and that's my demand. I can then do the same thing for my supply equation. With my supply, it's either going to come through like this through the price axis intercept, or it sometimes comes through the quantity axis intercept. When you do more and more of them, you can kind of figure out which is which just by looking at the equation. But otherwise, you just go through these steps. So find the price axis intercept or check it by setting quantity equal to 0. If it's positive, then the supply comes through the price axis intercept. If the quantity axis intercept is positive, then it will come through the quantity axis. So I can just start by checking that price axis intercept. And if I set that quantity supplied variable equal to 0, I get P is equal to 0 plus 10, which is just equal to 10. So that's positive. It's about there. And I don't have to check my quantity axis intercept because I just know that my supply curve will come through that point there. Now, the next point when I'm drawing my supply equation might as well be our equilibrium points where our supply and our demand curves meet, because I have to find that point anyway. So in equilibrium, or at least the thing that defines equilibrium, is when quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. And so that's our defining characteristic of our equilibrium in our market imperfect competition. Here it's the case that the way our demand and supply equations are expressed, price is on the left-hand side. So what we're just going to have to do first is just work with these equations until quantity demanded is on the left-hand side and quantity supplied is on the left-hand side, and then we can substitute into this equilibrium condition. So working with my inverse demand curve first, I'm first just going to take away 120 from both sides of this equation. I get P minus 120 is equal to negative QD on 3. I can then multiply both sides of the equation by negative 3. And this negative will cancel out here with these 3's, and I'm left with QD. And on this side, negative 3 times P is negative 3P. Negative 3 times negative 120 is positive 360. So I'm going to put QD on the left-hand side just because it's our subject and it's neat like that. I'm then also going to put the positive first, just again because that's neat. And that's our demand equation expressed with the quantity variable on the left-hand side. I can do the same thing now with my supply equation, and all I need to do here is just take away 10 from both sides. So I get P minus 10 is equal to QS, and then, I can put it with quantity supplied on the left-hand side if I like, just because I like it to be neat, but you don't need to. We then have our supply and demand equations with the quantity variables on the left-hand side. We can then just substitute into this condition in order to solve for our equilibrium points. So QD, that is equal to, 360 minus 3P. That's equal to QS, which is P minus 10. Okay, good. Now we can solve for P, and that will be our equilibrium price, because that's the price that happens when quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. So I'm just going to start by adding 3P to both sides. That will get rid of it on this side. So I'll be left with 360 is equal to, we can do P plus 3P and the minus 10. So 360 is equal to 4P minus 10. I can then plus 10 to both sides, and I'm left with 370 is equal to 4P. And then I can divide by 4, and that will give me P is equal to 370 by 4. I'll just get my calculator up. And it's 92.5. So we have P star, that's our equilibrium price, is 92.5. We can then substitute that equilibrium price either into our demand or our supply equations to find the quantity. That will be our equilibrium quantity, Q star. So let's put it into our supply, and I get QS is equal to, price is 92.5 minus 10 is equal to 82.5. Okay. If we substituted 92.5 into our demand equation, we should get the same amount. So we can just check that quickly. So demand tells us that we need 360 minus 3 times P. P is 92.5. So it will be 360 minus 277.5. And we get 82.5. So that's just one way to confirm your calculations are correct. Checking by substituting the equilibrium price into demand and supply, you should get the same amount. But really, you only need to do it with one, as long as you're confident that your calculations are correct. So this 82.5 is equal to Q star. That's our equilibrium quantity. So we have the result then that we found our price. P star is 92.5. That's perhaps about here, and our Q star is 82.5. So yeah, I think about there. And that will be a second point that we can anchor our supply curve to. We already found the price axis intercept for that before. That was 10. And that will be it. That's our equilibrium price and quantity in a nice kind of well-labeled diagram. The next thing we're going to do is find our surplus. So let me just clear the screen a little bit because it's getting a little bit busy. Now, our consumer surplus is just going to be the area below the demand curve above the price, just across all the units consumed in the market, which is 82.5. We found that point before. So it's going to be this area here, this triangle. Now, the area of a triangle is just half times base times height. Now our base is just going to be 82.5, that's the length here. And our height is going to be this distance here, 120 minus 92.5. And this reduces to half times 82.5 times, this is 27.5. I'll get my calculator, 82.5 times 27.5 times a half, which is 0.5. 1134.375. Now our producer surplus is going to be the area above our supply curve, below the price. This again is just a triangle. So we use half times base times height again. Now the base, I can just use this measurement again, 82.5. Now the height is this distance here, which is just 92.5 take away 10. So I'm not going to write it all out because that's hopefully pretty clearly 82.5. 92.5 take away 10, that's this distance. And that's equal to, let me get my calculator again, 82.5 times 82.5 is equal to this guy times a half. 0.5 is equal to 3403.125. Okay, so that's producer surplus and consumer surplus. Our total surplus is just going to be, in this case, in this market, just producer's surplus plus consumer surplus. So 3403.125 plus 1134.375, and that's equal to, well, we have 3403.125, that's producer surplus, plus 1134.375. So I get 4537.5, and that's our total surplus. All right, that's the practice question. I hope it helped. If it did, please like and subscribe. Hope you guys are having a good day.